Is our country's energy policy, is it realistic?
No, I think would be the short answer. I think what is missing, and I think this creates profound risks for the whole country. What is missing is any realistic effort to develop a integrated national policy. And by realistic, what I'm emphasizing, there's really two dimensions to it. One, there is no really intensive, well thought out, thorough effort in the federal government to develop a comprehensive energy supply strategy for the United States. I mean, there were earlier times that would have been shocking to say when the Department of Energy was created, which at this point is more than 30 years ago. One of its core functions was to develop a national energy plan, and it actually for several years put a lot of resources into doing that and published it, and it was a pretty important document. In the 80s, the development of those plans was abandoned, and it has never resumed. So there is no effort on the part of the executive branch, neither the Department of Energy nor the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission have tried even to develop a comprehensive energy plan. Congress, in a sense, tries to develop a comprehensive plan in the sense that when it's looking at potential new federal legislation, it's trying to look at often at all the resources that are available. Congress doesn't have the resources, wouldn't purport to have the resources to be able to develop this kind of issue thoroughly. And so what we're left with is many different potential sources of supply, each promoting the value of their supply. There's nothing wrong with that. And some of those sources of supply have just been highlighting the potential for deep gas shale production to be expanded very dramatically, and it's important to highlight that, and it's reasonable for any energy resource to highlight what it brings to the table, but that doesn't tell us how the pieces get together.
I'm assuming if we are going to have a sensible energy policy, it's probably going to be a combination of a lot of different sources.
It almost has to be, because if what the experience teaches us very clearly and dramatically is that our plans won't turn out exactly the way we intended. That with some of the resources that we're relying on, maybe with many of them, essentially that we can set aspirations, and even if we try to make them realistic as possible, sometimes we'll achieve them and sometimes not. And if you know that in advance, if you know that you can try to do the best job you possibly can to plan, but the world's going to turn out to be different. Some people sometimes say, not me, that the only thing you know about a forecast is that it's wrong at the time it was issued. And I've been lucky, actually. I've kind of a few times in a row now called spot on almost to the penny and to the day where natural gas prices are going to head, but I don't claim I'm going to be able to do that forever. And as a general principle, what we know, what we've seen, is that there is rapid and pervasive change. We had just a little over a year ago, we had $147 barrel oil. No one expected that to occur at the time it occurred, even 6 months before it occurred. We've seen these huge swings in natural gas prices, and I will immodestly say that actually I did call each one of them and got the timing pretty well right. But for the most part, they took the industry and the country by surprise. And if you know that, if you know those kinds of, and I mentioned at the outset that we're seeing explosive developments with technology now. Use of nanotechnology, with the shale. It's essentially a technology play. You call it a technology play, a process improvement play, but what it's doing is that it's taking technologies that may have been around for a while, but were never really intensively applied, and applying them in literally thousands of individual instances, and learning rapidly how to refine and improve them, in part because of a tremendous amount of innovation, in part because of using technologies, electron microscope or microseismology or other technologies like that, improving horizontal drilling. And it's also really the most important is the combining of all those and the repeated experience in a short period of time. And but it's really that essentially technology development of learning how to do that better, learning how to extract gas from deep shale, that's opened up a whole new option, really potentially the most important source of energy supply in the United States, potentially the most stable, potentially very reasonably cost, below the price levels that it was reasonable to expect previously. And that's essentially been a technology play. And there was the single most important resource in terms of what's being developed now, which is currently is the Haynesville field in Louisiana. We didn't recognize even 24 months ago that that was likely to be a very extraordinary, really a resource at all, let alone one of the most important resources we found. The prices were high for a while. Companies started looking at situations that they hadn't looked at before. There had been some other shale development, the Barnett Shale in the Fort Worth area. That had only occurred recently, but the experience there had improved the techniques and processes enough and improved the knowledge of what you needed to look for, what would work and what would not work enough, so that when the industry started looking further, looking back, people had known for a long time, the industry had known for a long time that there was source rock in northern Louisiana, that there were huge quantities of it, but they'd never had reason before or the capability before to look at it seriously as a source of development and have the capability to develop it cost effective. And we didn't know that. And so we're going to see those kinds of technological breakthroughs that are going to occur. They're going to occur on the energy use supply side as well. I actually met with a company just by happenstance at a dinner that was hosted in connection with this conference last night. I happened to be seated next to one of the investors and developers of a company here in Oklahoma City, based in Oklahoma City, that is focusing on what may seem like a very, in a sense, mundane technology. What it is a way to recharge your cell phone or your computer without having to plug anything in the wall. It involves a pad that you just put the devices down on. It sounds like a very mundane thing. Well, there's a meaningful percentage of all the electricity use in the United States comes from all of us having one or two or three adapters sitting in the wall all the time. Because while they're sitting in the wall, they pull out a lot of electricity. It's just one example. And it really is, in a sense, it may seem like sort of a mundane sort of thing, but that will have, if that gets traction, and either that device or somebody else's device that finds another method to do the same thing starts to be applied on a wide scale, it will have a meaningful impact on total energy demand in the United States. And you couldn't predict that, and I can't tell you where there's going to be that kind of breakthrough next, but I can tell you is that we are seeing, if you step back and look at it from a big picture perspective, we're seeing a speeding up of the process of innovation and the development of technologies. We're developing capabilities. It's partly really the horsepower and lower cost every year for computing technology. It's partly exploring nanotechnology. It's partly the economic financial incentive that's existed over the last several years to find new techniques. But we are already seeing the early stages of an explosion in technology, and really shale is potentially, in terms of impacts, the one that is most real and has the most potential to be a game changer if we take advantage of it properly. But those sorts of things are going to continue happening, they're going to accelerate, and they're going to have a huge impact.
Well, you are an education. Thank you, sir.
I've enjoyed speaking.